When we need to prepare for a competitive event, our go-to company is the Army Painter.
Thanks to their complete range of paints, spray cans, and gaming tools, we're able to complete our new armies and units in no time.
When we need to elevate the quality of our models and terrain, the Army Painter is always our first choice.
You may not know this, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive events than any other hobby company.
Tournament and wargaming is in their DNA.
Visit thearmypainter.com to learn more about their amazing products.
And use promo code AWPaints for a 5% discount from your Army Painter purchases.
What are you waiting for? Discover the best way to prepare your models for events with the Army Painter today.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Art Award tier list. You know, it's Tuesday, so we are here doing that tier list. And today we are going to talk about the top 10 characters in the game. Last week was units, and I think next week is monsters vehicles.
I think it's monsters then vehicles.
Monsters
I think
then
they might
vehicles.
be separate tier lists.
Yeah, you're really spoiling the audience with this one.
We do what we can, you know. I mean, you know, monsters gonna have a lot of overlap with characters because a lot of monsters characters are really good. And I think that's something we should talk about right away. Is with top 10 characters, you know, Magnus will not be featuring on this list.
Nope.
Reason for that? He feels more like a monster than he does a character.
Yeah, it was very much not a like hard and strict definitions. There are going to be some characters that are on this list that have either the monster or vehicle keyword. We just kind of looked at all of them on a case-by-case basis, and we were like, does this feel more like a character or does it feel more like a monster? And that was kind of how we arrived at our conclusion. So
Yep.
It's not going to make any sense, but we felt like it made sense in our hearts.
That's right. And that's what matters, because it's our goddamn tier list, and that's what we want to do over here on the Art of War.
And if you want
see it over there,
if you want to see more about our goddamn tier lists, please remember to like and subscribe. I know every YouTuber says it, but it really helps us out, like genuinely really does. Also, if you really like our content, go ahead and check out the War Room. It's where we post all of our extra spicy stuff. We have a bunch of extra battle reports in there, along with things like Jack Theory and 10-minute tips and our puzzle series that I've been working on lately. There's a 3-day free trial for that. You can check out that at the warroom.vhx.tv. There's going to be a link in the description and in chat.
thank you very much.
All
right. Well, let's get into it with a couple of honorable mentions.
These are characters that we talked a lot about, but ultimately did not make the list.
Although I think that they could have potentially. Like, I think they're definitely good enough to fall in that bottom scrum of characters.
The last there were like 6 options that all very much could have gone in the like 7, 8, 9 slot.
Absolutely. Yeah. First one up, the Death Jester. Death Jester with Fate's Messenger in particular, because it combos so well.
Very well. So Fate's Messenger is an enhancement that goes well on, it used to go well on any character, now it goes well on any Eldar character that moves quickly and does something by themselves. Every turn, that's yours and your opponent, you can flip a hit, wound, or save to a 6 after you roll it.
That is really good, because you can also use an Eldar reroll and then sub a Fate die in, and all of a sudden you got 2 6s on command, which you can either use to trigger your sustained hits 3, which is pretty gross, or you can use it to trigger your dev wounds, up to you. So the Death Jester can guarantee 4 mortals on any target in the game, including a character with precision, or can just guarantee get minimum 9 hits and quite possibly 12 with a good profile. Really good character, also a lone out, also on a tiny base, so very easy to phantasm around the board. This dude rocks.
Yeah, he's really good at like starting the party and also very good at finishing things off. A lot of times you shoot something or you shoot a unit and you leave a vehicle on 4 or 5 wounds, and he's really good at just kind of being the coup de grace.
Yep, that's what I found him in playing Eldar recently, and I found that him plus some shooting unit just guarantees that something dies every turn.
Yep.
And that is a very, very good thing to have, because randomly leaving stuff alive, that's bad. We don't like that.
Yep. And then our other honorable mention is Lord Avocado himself, the Lord Invocatus.
Lord Invocatus is just the best. A little on the pricey side, 140 is a bit expensive, but the dynamism that Lord Invocatus gives to your list as a World Leaders player is invaluable. Just an incredible profile as well. Lord Invocatus has Scout natively and gives 2 different units Scout. I always put Lord Invocatus by themselves, not joining a unit, and it just makes them a really, really, really strong character. Giving 2 units scout let you start basically your army in midboard with control over the objectives and forces your opponent to deploy back. And then when they're on the table, Lord Invocatus is incredibly durable with toughness 6, a 2-up, 4-up, and 8 wounds, oftentimes a 6-up, feel no pain, and scads of attacks with dev wounds. And I've found Lord Invocatus to be one of the most consistent characters in World Eaters at doing damage, at surviving, at having utility, just covers the full trifecta. And man, I love Invocatus. Invocatus lives through things that they shouldn't, kills things that they shouldn't. And then you do the math and you're like, wow, I should have done that.
He's a 2-up, 4-up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just like
wounds and
randomly survives stuff that like you expect to kill a character. Because in my head, he's got a 3-up, 5-up, but he's a 2-up, 4-up, so he just like survives randomly and hits harder, and he's just very good.
Yes.
On top of the scout, which is very good.
There's like 12 attacks, at 8 of which are at 7/2/2 dev wounds, and 4 of which are at like 6/1/2 lance, I think. I always have to look that one up, but I think it hits on 3s. But it's just a lot of attacks, and he takes buffs really, really well. If he's near Angron, he hits like a monster truck. If he's near 8-bound, reroll 1s to wound is very nice. +1 to wound when you need it. I love Invocatus. Invocatus, for me, number 1 character in my heart.
In my heart.
In my heart.
Are we going to do super chats now or at the end?
Let's do these super chats before we get into the top 10, and then we'll do every other super chat at the end. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome. Okay, so our first one is from Ryan G with a $5 super chat. Spoilers, you guys showed your hand. Call is in the number 1 spot as a monster.
Oh, you got us. You got us, buddy.
Really
Called way up there.
Yeah, those buffs, man. They're
It's just too good. He's battle line now, and
battle
that's
line
something.
now. That matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a monster. Oh, I didn't know that.
But he can go through walls now. I thought it was infantry.
No. He can go through walls because he is explicitly called out. It's like infantry, beasts, Imperium Primarch, and call. Can go through walls. And personally, I think all Primarchs should go through walls, not just Imperium ones. What is this bias going on here? I think Angron should be able to phase through walls, and that is fair and balanced and right.
Whatever. He can go over the walls. Whatever. He's like a Sister's Castigator. You can just go clean over him.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew Mack with a $5 super chat. Hey guys, I was the idiot that left for the awards at the Leighton this weekend. It was my first GC and I had a great time. How do you guys get to turn 5 though? First of all, congratulations on Best Sport. Pretty sure he won that.
No, that I believe was that him?
Was it him? I'm pretty sure it was him.
He was the best sport. All right, yes, one best sportsman, which by the way, winning best sport with Tau, that's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
You must have been an amazing sport.
Okay, so I think that getting to turn 5 in a game of Warhammer basically boils down to 3 things. The first is making sure that you know your rules reasonably. And a lot of time what that means is if there's a unit that you're going to roll out a lot or activates a lot or gets shot a lot, make sure you have those key profiles memorized. So if your army has 3 units of breachers, make sure that you know what the breacher gun is and then know how tough a Riptide is. The kind of stats that come up every turn, make sure you have those down flat. And then make sure that you have an easy access to check everything else so it doesn't take forever for you to check rules. So either take the cards out and set them aside, or if you're on the phone, make sure that you have the battle room app part of the app open, just so you can check rules quickly, because that can really slow the game down. Practice taking some time and making sure that when you have some sense to your dice rolling, a lot of times what that can mean is if you're shooting a unit that has 30 attacks a lot, have a set of 30 dice that you don't touch, or know how to count quickly with dice or something, because that can also slow the game down. And then lastly, just practice. That's the biggest thing. If you play a lot of games of Warhammer, you'll just get faster playing games of Warhammer.
Yep.
When Jack and I play a game together, the game can take an hour. It's crazy.
It very well can. Just playing more games, you'll get there. And as Quentin was saying, just eliminating the non-vital aspects of take up time.
Yeah.
Right? Because thinking, you're always going to have to take time to think. That's not, you can reduce that, shortcut that, and that takes experience.
You and I will still take 10 minutes to think on a turn sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But reducing the amount of time you spend fumbling for dice or fumbling for rules or something can really help. So that's just prep that up ahead of time. But ultimately, as you've only been playing since March, as you play more, you will get faster.
Yeah. You'll get there. That's just purely a practice thing.
Yep.
All right. Going into number 10, we have Deathleaper. So Deathleaper is like the platonic ideal of a lone op.
Dude, he's the best kind of lone op, which is when you get within 12, he doesn't die.
No. So he's fairly tanky, and he hits pretty hard, and he's a fight first lone op, and he has good synergy with the army rules.
Yep. So if he were if the Neurolictor were a character, which the Neurolictor is not a character, this would be the Neurolictor instead.
Yes.
Because the Neurolictor synergizes so well with the army that it's actually pretty ridiculous, just forcing battle shock checks and defending objectives and whatnot. But the Neurolictor isn't a character, which is actually a point in its favor.
Yep.
Because it does not give up Assassinate when eventually you do commit to bring it down.
You finally get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Deathleaper, he's what, T6 with a
This sounds
3
like
up, 4
rules
up?
that someone might need to look up. Now, this would be something that John would know off the top of
He
their
definitely
head.
would.
And I have heard probably a bunch of times, but shake my hand, just shake my fist at every time.
If I remember correctly, Deathleaper has 7 wounds. He's a 3-up armor save, a 4-up invuln. I think he's toughness 5 or 6. And then he's like 6 attacks in combat at strength 8 because of the new Tyrannid buffs if he's in Synapse, with decent AP and damage 2. So what that boils down to is...
With precision natively.
With precision natively.
He is toughness 6. He moves 8. He has a 3-up, 4-up with 7 wounds. And he does have a bunch of attacks.
Yep. So he is good enough to kill basically any foot character in combat. So things like in the space of like a Space Marine captain probably die to Deathleaper.
Or a Space Marine unit.
Or a Space Marine unit, yeah.
A lot of like skirmish threats that want to go take the objective off you and need a charge to do so. Like need a charge to get on the objective. He'll kill them.
Yeah, if you charge 5 JPI into Deathleaper, they will probably all die before they get to swing.
They probably won't all die, but you're going to lose a bunch. But like scouts or something, because he's AP2.
Okay, yeah.
So,
but you'll lose 3 or 4.
Scouts or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to lose 3 or 4. Deathleaper will not die. And then he just gets to fall back onto the objective, blow your guys up, present the exact same problem back to your opponent again. And that's pretty nasty. He is very tanky. And
very tanky.
Yeah, a 4-up invuln on a 7-wound character at toughness 6 with lone op and stealth?
I think he's also stealth natively, yeah.
He has scads of rules. Yes, he's stealth and infiltrators and fights first and lone op. And that is a lot. It's -1 to hit, and you have to get within 12. And he has a 3-up, probably with cover. And in Vanguard Onslaught, you can shrink his lone op to 6.
Which is criminal.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really very good. It's just, as you said, he's the platonic ideal of a lone op.
Yeah, he's not like absolutely insane in every way, but he just has like a lot of rules that make him marginally more efficient, and all taken together, he's just really good.
Yep. There is a lone op on the list that is better.
Yes.
But we'll get to that one. I think that lone op is like the better iteration of a lone op, but like, there's there's a couple lone ops on this list, actually. But yeah, he's just really good at standing on an objective, defending that objective, and not dying.
Yep.
And that's really all you need.
I think we talked a lot in the top 10 units that like a lot of the units that made the list were just things that any army would take. And I think a lot of armies would just take one Deathleaper.
Yep.
Just like 80 points, right?
He's not that expensive.
He's sub 100.
He is exactly 80 points. Yes, yeah. I would take... imagine the lone ops you're paying for in other armies for similar cost are like toughness 4 with 4 wounds.
With no invuln or a 6-up or 5-up invuln.
Right, like Cypher.
Yeah.
Comes with a Vect, but is like the stats are wildly less good. And Deathleaper is just a tank for 80 points.
Yeah, now mind you, one downside of Deathleaper is that his model is very tall. And if you have not seen it, it is like actually seriously like 4 inches taller than you'd expect. He is like this big.
He's huge. He's waving at you.
He is.
Constantly, which means hiding behind walls, well, you better rely on your lone op to do that. Because if he's in a terrain feature, he will be seen over the terrain feature.
It's very funny.
Always. You need like a triple level ruin to hide him.
Yeah, you need like one of the WTC3 stacks.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what does not need a WTC3 stack to hide?
No.
We have the Keler morph at number 9, also a lone op.
And this one is a bit odd, right? GSC are not really good right now, right?
No.
Well, that's not... The Keler morph is doing his best, okay? The Keler morph is a really, really good character.
Yes.
But he can't carry the entire army.
No.
But he's doing his best.
He really is.
He's trying very hard. Yeah, I mean, he just has, again, he falls into a different archetype of lone op almost.
Yeah.
Which is the one you can't deal with, right? The Deathleaper, right, is just hard to kill.
Yeah.
Hits hard. If you charge him, he'll fight first. He has precision. He'll pick characters out of units. He's very good at you try to access him, and he's like, yeah, but that's not good enough.
Yeah.
The Keler morph is just a little squirrely little guy.
So why don't you tell us what the Keler morph does? Because it is absolutely infuriating.
So he's a lone op, which means you can't shoot him outside 12.
Yeah.
And he has a pair or 3 guns, triple auto stubs, which is actually a pretty decent shooting profile. 6 shots that hit on 2s with 6, strength 6, AP 2, damage 1 with devastating wounds. And that doesn't hurt that bad the first time you get shot by it, but don't worry, you will get shot by it several times. Now, it is only 12-inch range, but he has a rule. And that rule is that if you put, if an enemy unit ends a move within, and this is the key here, 12 inches of him, he gets to move D6 inches. So every other reactive move in the game is 9 inches.
Yep.
Or Eldar who get it anywhere on the board, but we don't talk about that yet. Yet. The Keler morph moves if you get within 12, and critically 12 inches is the range of his lone op. If you want to try to hit him in any way, right? If you want to try and go for a charge, you have to be within 12. If you want to try and shoot him, you have to be within 12. There is no other way around it. So that means he triggers his reactive move, runs behind a wall, runs out of range, but before he does, he has a present for you, and that present is bullets. He shoots you as though it were the shooting phase. So he shoots you on the turn he comes out, you move within 12, he shoots you again, and then he goes behind a wall.
And if you have 3 of these guys, they all do that.
All 3 of them do it.
So if you have them vaguely near the center objective, if your opponent puts trash on the objective, the trash dies and they all leave.
Yep. Yeah, it's really quite good. I was playing against, we have a stream game that's going to go up sometime soon. It goes up today.
Yeah.
We have a stream game going up today between my GSC, because I'm taking over GSC,
and my
Artwork.
Drukhari, and it's one of the most fun games you and I have played in a long time.
It was very interesting.
Blast,
It was a blast.
It was very weird.
But a key thing is available right now.
Yep.
A key thing. Wow, that vertical integration. All right. So a key thing in that game was I could put forward a Keler morph onto an objective, and another Keler morph. And then you would move up, and I would just go bow, 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 and then run back either to within heroic range of a fight first unit or behind a wall.
Yeah, I spent 30 minutes of brain power trying to figure out how to get around dealing with these stupid things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So he does a lot.
Yes.
Let me see if he has any other rules, because those are the ones that matter. But I will take a look.
Is he native precision?
I don't think he's native precision. Keler morph.
He also has a 5-bit invuln, which is not crazy, but is
it does
generally
matter.
pretty solid.
It does come up occasionally.
Yeah.
Because you do want to put you want to put just a couple shots in him.
Yeah, if you put 2 storm bolters, there's also a very real chance he just survives at 1, and then if he's surviving at 1, he's basically at full health, because who cares?
Oh, that's right. He also battle shock checks infantry he shoots at.
That's not nothing.
Well, it's once per turn.
Yeah.
And then you can do it on the reactive move.
Oh, boy.
Because it does not say in your shooting phase or anything, just an infantry unit. So you walk out onto the point, and I'm like, bow, 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 and I go behind a wall, and you take a battle shock check, and then you're sad.
Man, this guy's really good.
He's really good. He's really good. You can't go into a transport with the D6-inch move.
Yes.
Otherwise, you would have a truck behind a wall and 3 guys just outside, and you'd go in and out, in and out, in and out every turn.
Oh, wow.
You can't do that. But he is very, very annoying. And he's also 60 points.
Yeah, that's the other big point.
That's the other thing. If he were 80 points like Deathleaper, I'd be like, all right, maybe I'll take 1.
Yeah.
Right? Because he just does something that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But
absolute worst case, he's a 60-point unit. If you fling him out and he dies to go do an action, it is not the end of the world.
Yeah, who really
cares?
Who
really cares?
Which is the worst part, because you've got 3 of these ding-dongs. There are 180 points for 3 of them. And if your opponent spends the whole game trying to corral them and getting shot by them a couple times, yeah, that's worth it. Right? I don't need them to win the game solo. I just need them to take up more than 180 points of your brain power.
Do you know who will win the game solo, though?
Well, this character
This
definitely
next
came up a
character on
lot
the
in
list
the game that is going live today in the War Room.
We have Lelith Hesperax, who, did you know, Jack, is getting her very own novel.
Is that so?
It's coming out very soon. It's available for pre-order. And I'm very
the
excited
name?
about it. I think it's Lelith Hesperax, Queen of Knives or something like that.
Okay,
Queen
whatever.
of Blades.
She's a little edgy. That's fine.
She is. I don't know what it's about, but I'm really excited to read
I
it.
imagine it's about blades.
I would
and
assume
knives.
so, yeah.
Okay, tell me about Lelith.
So she's a character. I think she's 80 points or something like that. She's in that bracket. She is very good in combat, and she fights first. So she base attacks. She has 8 attacks.
This doesn't sound that bad.
No, not that bad.
Damage 1, right?
At strength 3, AP 2, damage 1.
Oh, that's
totally fine.
easy. Nothing.
Totally fine.
Don't worry about it.
She's anti-infantry 2+.
I at no point during this at no point during this game did I make you roll out attacks. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, she killed. Okay, so then she sustained its 2, which by itself means that she will kill basically any infantry unit that's not like super durable.
Yeah, anti-infantry 2 plus with sustained hits 2 and 8 attacks.
Yeah,
Cool,
yeah, okay. And then you're going to empower her because she's like the best combat unit in your army. So she has +1 AP. So she goes to AP 3.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And then she gets 4 rolls to hit.
Okay.
Okay, with that sustained, it's 2.
I'm sure you just reroll the 1s, right?
No, but she hits on 2s. So you go fishing.
You reroll everything that's a 1 through a 5.
Yeah, it's not a
trying
6.
to get more 6s.
Yeah. So she's like 8 attacks, 16 hits, which is pretty regular.
Yeah.
Which wound infantry on 2s and give Space Marine a 6-up save.
Well, don't worry. Can't she go to AP 4?
She sure can. Other buff is that if she joins a unit, she gives that unit fights first, +1 strength, and +1 attack. And
+1 AP, right?
+1 AP, sorry. And if on witches, brings them to 4, 3, 1, which is at that point a real
Anti anything? Or
no, they're
just
just not. They're not that great in combat.
Well, that's
But
okay. She
She
is.
buffs herself. The witches are there to be extra wounds for her. And then so she's 8 attacks at anti-witch 2+ AP 4, damage 1, rerolling. If she's in Sky Splinter, she gets Lance, which is the point where she starts to actually kill vehicles.
She wins them on 5s.
Yeah, wins them on 5s. She wins every unit in the game on 5s minimum. And then once a game, she can just give herself a 3-up invuln and +4 attacks.
So 12 attacks.
12 attacks.
Okay, so this is a buff fiesta. So
Yes.
we've got 12 attacks.
Yep.
With full rerolls to hit, sustained 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rerolling everything that isn't a 6.
Yes.
And so it's like 12 attacks, 20 hits.
Which is very reasonable. That happens almost every time.
And then it wounds infantry on 2s.
yes.
And it's AP 4.
Yes.
And she's like 90, 80 points or
Yeah,
something.
something crazy.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
she hits like a monster truck.
Yes. She also fights first, which into combat armies is really good because your opponent will charge her with like 3 exalted 8 bound and they'll just all die and she'll be like, awesome, next. The other really big thing about her is she can join witches, which means the unit she's joined has the witch keyword. And so one thing that you can do if you're playing Sky Splinter is you can then use Wraith-like Retreat on this unit because she's a character. She has the witch keyword because she joined witches. So after they fight, they can make a fallback move. So they get to move 8 inches. If they're then vaguely within 6 inches of a venom, they can then embark inside that venom, which means if you run out 14 inches, kill something, you can then move 14 inches at the end of the fight phase back into a venom.
Yep, because you move 8, and at the end of the fight phase, you move 8, and then at the end of the fight phase, again, you scoop them up into the venom.
Yep.
And so if you have something within 14 inches of a venom, you just go out, murder the whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, all right, we're back in.
Yep.
And also the witches with Lance kind of bang
slap,
too,
yeah.
right? Like, because they wound on 5s and are AP 3.
Yep.
And so she's like 20 hits. All right, that vehicle took 7 damage.
Yeah.
And then the witches are like, don't worry about me. Bink the last couple off, and then you run back.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
They also have like the grenade keyword in the unit, which is like not nothing.
Yep.
And she gets a 3-up invuln, which means she sometimes randomly just survives.
Yes.
Which is quite
And
nice.
she has fight first, so randomly surviving, randomly heroicing, randomly doing
She's like just very good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Even just by herself, right? As you were saying, like 3 exalted 8 bound charge, just Lelith.
Yeah.
And she's like, call an ambulance.
Not
But
for
not
me.
for me. And she guts all 3 of them.
Yeah, I take the witches because I want 4 morons to stand in front of her before she dies, but also Lilith solo is very good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She's really, really scary. I put a lot of work into trying to kill her, and spoiler alert, did not succeed.
Did not do that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Number 7, we got a character who just got a big promotion in the new Pariah Nexus change.
That's right. We got Kaldor Draigo. Man, love this dude. He's been catching a succession of buffs as the edition has gone on. He got a points drop from like 150 or 155 or something down to 125. Maybe it was 145, whatever. Points dropped to 125 where he has stayed. He gives his unit +3 to charge once when arriving from Deep Strike. Well, that also changed. Now it's when arriving from Deep Strike or Teleport Assault.
Yep.
And that change was like, whatever. That's probably not that important. Yeah, it's a big deal because it means you can get it on turn 1 now because you just start them on the board, pick them up, drop them in, and go.
Yep.
If you need to start the party early, it means that you have a counter punch. Your opponent doesn't just get to swarm the board for free. Or it means you can use it late. And that means you can use it on like turn 4, you pick up and go in. It's really, really good.
Really good.
That ability is one of the best things that Grey Knights can do, straight up. Just get +3 to charge out of picking up and putting back down. It means he does not need to start in reserves. It's really great.
A 6 with a reroll is the point that I, a very cautious player, would like stake an important turn around it.
Yep. And I also would stake an important turn around it and get viciously let down as he fails his charge with a reroll. I've done that so many times. It's not even... we're moving on. Anyway. He also hits really hard.
Really hard.
So if he's in Terminators, he has 6 attacks at 8 AP 4. So everything's going through, basically. Damage 3 with lethal hits on the charge from the Terminators. He can activate Dev Wounds if you need it.
And he's anti-demon, right?
He's anti-demon 2+, and you can activate Dev Wounds. So if you're going into the Avatar of Cain or some nonsense, who is a demon, he just, every 2-up is 2 mortals. Easy.
I promise you that demon keyword is a lot more common than you'd expect. It's not just in, like, Legions Demonica. It's a bunch of random stuff. So, like, ask your opponent if they have any demons, because it'll be like, yeah, this character has a demon in his back pocket. So the whole unit has the demon keyword.
Yeah, like 8-bound of every stripe are demons.
Yep.
That's pretty relevant.
All the Death Guard
Angron,
vehicles are demons. Like
any demon engine is a demon.
Yep.
Forge Fiend, that's a demon. He wounds that on a 2. And the Avatar and the Incarn, both demons. So this comes up quite a bit, actually. Magnus is a demon, and this is one of the ways to punk him.
Yep.
Because you can get in there and just drop like a ridiculous amount of damage on him. And he gets the 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks, but guess what he doesn't get against psychic attacks? -1 damage. So he runs in there and Draigo's like, yeah, 4-up Feel No Pain, that's great. You make 15 of them, please. And don't worry, there's a unit behind me also with psychic attacks that you also can't -1 damage. So you better hope your 4-up Feel No Pains go your way. They will not. So that is really, really good. He's good on offense. He's good on defense. But he also has another rule.
Yeah, so this is the big change, is he has a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds for him and his unit, which before was cute. Now,
it came up every so often. You get grenaded and you'd be like, don't actually do that. I have a 4-up against it.
Yeah, that's what it meant. It meant your opponent just wouldn't throw a grenade.
Yes, or tank shock you.
Correct. Now it applies to devastating wounds, which is massive.
It used to apply. It went back in the days when I was playing this into Wraith Knights. It mattered because I'd get shot or overwatched and I'd be like, all right, I know I took 20 mortals here, but I actually took 10. And that helps. But now that there aren't the like massive, overwhelming amounts of like devastating wounds or whatever, what it basically means is, screw your dev wounds. It doesn't do anything. I don't even care. And then you res a dude in the unit. So he's like the perfect complement for a unit of Terminators. Yeah,
you get shot by a Forge Fiend, and instead of it being like an existential threat, it's like pretty annoying.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not that great. It's fine. You know?
You want to know who is that great?
Yeah, my favorite boy, Lemartes.
So we've been talking a lot about like sneaky lone ops. This guy is not a lone op.
No, he's not sneaky. He's not a lone op. He's vicious and nasty. And did you know that he was in my list for LVO and when I won the ITC?
Was he really?
He really was. He was in there. He was the 4th character. Lemartes went bananas on some folks.
You know what I found out last night?
What?
He's still on a 25mm base.
Yeah, he's a tiny boy. I've been running him on a 32, which like straight up does not help me.
I mean like...
But because I just can't. No. I just can't run him on a 25.
My Phoenix Lords are all on 32s.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this dude has... I have a history with this guy. I love Lemartes. But also, he's really good now. Unit of 10 Death Company with Lemartes is very, very strong. And I will tell you why. Lemartes gives his unit a couple rules. One, he's a chaplain, which means is a big deal for Death Company, because if they're not within 12 inches of chaplain, they're OC 0 and cannot fall back, which is both very bad. So chaplain keyword helps a lot. But also, he gives his unit -1 damage, which turns that unit from annoying to get rid of into
like legitimately impossible.
Absolute bear.
Yeah.
Because -1 damage, it's the thing in the army that gets Armor of Contempt. It's in cover. It has a 6-up Feel No Pain. Good luck. I got shot by a unit of 6 Black Knights with Plasma Talons, and I lost like 2 guys. So I killed this unit over the weekend at the GT we went to, and I had to shoot it with 2 Immolators, 3 Castigators, the Volgons, and a squad of Dominions. It's just way tougher to kill than you expect that it will, because Armor of Contempt and cover and -1 damage and a 6 of Feel No Pain just means like the blow that you thought was going to kill all 10 actually killed 4. And like 6 of them plus Lemartes hits really hard.
If you want to hear about the unit he attaches to, you can watch last week's video where I'm pretty sure we have these guys ranked pretty high. The Death Company themselves.
They were up there for sure. And he also has reroll to hit because Death Company have it, and he has it because he is Death Company.
And he hits pretty hard too.
He hits pretty hard. On the charge, he'll be 6 attacks at 822, which is a good profile. And he gives his unit lethal hits, so you don't need to use the Lance lethal strat on them. They just have it along with reroll hits. He is a very good character. Just a very good character. Nothing really more to be said about it. He gives the unit exactly what they need to be durable, to hit hard, and he's a terror.
I think he's like, him and Death Company are like the best example of like a unit and a character that like join each other, and they're just way better because of it. They're like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, before we go into our top 5, how about we hear a word from our sponsor
from Rattlecan Studios. All right, so getting back into it, we have number 5, Lord Solar Leontus.
Yeah, now we're going to be looking at a lot of characters that buff the army around them.
Yeah, so a lot of characters before were like really good lone ops or buffed themselves really well. This guy just like buffs your whole army better than, I think he might be the best or the second best buff character in the game.
He's incredible at that.
He's incredible.
He is absolutely absurd at that. So the number one reason that people include him in guard armies is because he orders 3 units, and they can be units of any type, and that is huge.
Yeah.
Here are some things that make guard lists very often right now that you cannot order normally. Mm-hmm. Without Leontus, you just can't order them at all. Tank commanders.
Yep.
They're very good. You cannot give them orders because they are not squadron and they are not platoon.
They sure do like hitting on 3s, though.
They love hitting on 3s. If they hit on 4s, they're very sad about it.
Yeah.
So Leontus gives them hit on 3s. He gives them plus 3-inch move. He gives them a wide variety of things. Can't order them ordinarily. Other thing you can't order that is a big deal, Bulgrin.
Yep.
Bulgrin are a very good unit right now. They probably would make a top 15 list of units. Mm-hmm. They're a very good unit, and a guard oftentimes take 2 to 3 units of them.
They're very solid.
They cannot be ordered unless you take Leontus because they are abhuman auxiliaries or whatever they're actually called.
You know what they really are, though?
What?
They are an Astra Militarum unit.
They are, so Leontus can order them, and that is cracked. Yep. He can order them at 24 inches if you attach him to a command squad in a unit.
Which you will.
Which holds your home objective and screens it out really, really well. And it is a bit expensive, but it is the command and control node for your army. And you are more than willing, more than happy to take that.
This guy, makes guard function.
In addition, he has 8 wounds.
Which is not easy to kill.
No, I have tried. And he has a 4-up invuln. And he's toughness 4, which means easily brushing him to the side.
A lot of times he's going to be in a unit with a meta pack. So he might have a Feel No Pain too, right?
Yes. And he also gives you because not his commanding 3 units is not actually one of his datasheet abilities. So he still has 2 datasheet abilities. And I looked them up to make sure I didn't miss any of them.
Yeah.
The first one is you can redeploy 3 units from your army just for including him.
Which is like not crazy, but can sometimes really be relevant.
Hey, you remember that game at ATC where our Tau player got wrecked because his guard opponent put 4 tanks in reserves?
Yep.
Yeah, you know how he was able to do that?
Lord Solar Leontus.
Yes, because you can put him into reserves over any limits to units in reserves. So that's just his like side ability. He also gives you a CP every turn.
That's
which,
pretty good.
Is one of the better abilities to have in the game.
Yeah.
And all of that in, I think, a 120, 125 point package, something to that effect,
And
is something I would take.
Notably,
125.
He does not hit criminally hard. He does not hit soft, though.
He does have Constantine's hose. I think he hits less hard than he did in 9th.
Yeah, but like he's still good for like him plus the like command sergeant with a power fist and then like the rest of the unit are good for like 5 Space Marines.
This is not a data sheet I activate ever.
No.
But he does have 2 shots at 822 and 6 attacks at 622. And with a power fist.
I had him kill the Avatar once.
That's pretty... Well, that's embarrassing for the Avatar.
Yeah, the Avatar was on 1 wound, and my opponent was like, I have no guns left. And I was like, I guess I survive. And then he was like, wait, I have Soul's Righteous Gaze. And then he was like, pew! And he hit on a 6, and he wounded on a 6, and I failed my 2-up save, and I died.
That's embarrassing for the Avatar.
Yeah, it was actually kind of sad. Yeah.
All right, but talking about probably... not even probably. The best lone op in the entire game.
The
Autarch
Wayleaper.
Somebody thought that... I bet some people think it's going to be the Calidus. No, the Calidus is very, very good. Not the best lone op in the game. That would be the Autarch Wayleaper.
This guy has been insane since day 1. And he is still absolutely insane.
Yes. My favorite single, like, infantry model to use in the game.
Oh, yeah, mine too.
For sure. He's so much fun to play with. So he has a million rules.
Yeah.
The first one, and the best one, is that he just gives you a CP if he's your warlord.
That's really good.
Yeah. Every
really
turn,
good.
every one of your turns, every command phase, boom, here's an extra CP. Don't worry about it. Your secondary game, it's on lock because you can just spend that CP to get a new card if you want to. Eldar are also really good at secondaries.
Yeah.
So, like,
it also means that, like,
a card every turn.
Your Fire and Fade plays. You can Fire and Fade and Phantasm every turn.
And score both of your cards.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Yeah, Fire and Fade plus Phantasm every turn while still scoring both your cards is something other armies just cannot do. And it's because of this fellow right here.
Woo.
But then also, he does a variety of other things. He's also a +1 leadership aura for, like, literally no reason.
Yeah, he's the 6-inch aura +1 leadership or Battle Shock, which does not come up that often. But if you're playing like Chaos Knights or Tyranids, Elves are leadership 6 across the board for some reason, which means that your army is leadership 5. And like telling that to a Tyranid player makes them very sad.
Yeah, it breaks them at some level, for sure, because they're also really mad about this dude flying around and being just a like. It is shocking how much damage this dude does.
No one expects it.
No one expects
it.
Because he's got a funny melt-a-gun. He's got, he's got an attack. You look at the profile, like, that's not that great.
No, so he's got the best way to equip him, and there's like 8 million ways you can give this guy weapons, but the best thing to do is you give him a Dragon Fusion Gun and a Starglaive. So the Dragon Fusion Gun is 1 shot at Strength 9, AP 4, Melt of 3, D6 damage, which means that like with the Fate die, it's just a 9 damage gun. And he got an Eldar hit and wound reroll. So a lot of times he's like just killing like a rhino because he also has the grenade keyword.
Yep.
He's pretty good in combat.
The amount of times this dude can just run over, not advance anymore and do this, but like he moves 14.
Yeah.
So this dude just goes over, throws a grenade at a vehicle, shoots it. He wounds on a 4 often into like rhinos, that sort of thing, with an Eldar reroll, with a Fate die, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you need the damage to go through, you can just go roll the wound roll. I rolled a 3. Didn't get it. Eldar reroll into a Fate die. I did wound. You don't get a save. It's AP 4, D6 plus 3 damage. And you're just like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a rhino dead to one funny little dude with a melt-a-gun. And that happens consistently, which is the most annoying part of this dude playing into him. He consistently domes vehicles when he runs up to them if they don't have an invuln.
He's also a lone op with access to Phantasm,
which means you can do little, just so annoying. things to people where you put him on an objective, barely touching it, and then your opponent goes, okay, well, if I run up within 12 inches, first off, Phoenix Gem, we'll get to that in a hot second.
Yeah.
Because he's the best caddy for Phoenix Gem in the game, bar none. So first off, if they shoot him and he'll just stand back up with Phoenix Gem and you hold the objective and you hold it and you're happy.
Yeah.
But also you can just phantasm him back off the objective and now you're out of 12 and they've exposed a resource and you haven't. So you put him back on the objective and then you shoot your opponent's thing that they exposed to death and you pass turn. And they're like, oh, well, that's not good. I don't like that.
Yeah, he's pretty dumb.
He's pretty good. Also, you can give him Manda Blasters or Banshee Mask, both of which are a good option. We tend to prefer the Manda Blasters because just being able to run in with a guaranteed bank for 2 damage
is really solid.
Just to any non-monster
Manda
vehicles.
Blasters gives him dev wounds in combat. The Banshee Mask gives him fight first, both of which are very good options, and I can see a very real case for either one.
Yes. Manda Blasters is great because if you, like, oftentimes there'll be a character and you just, like, run in, roll my wound rolls. That's 1 dev wound. And then I'm going to Eldar reroll this wound into another dev wound and you're just dead.
He also, if you're running 2 of these guys, or if you're not taking the DJ, he's quite solid with Fate's Messenger.
Because he can flip a wound roll to a 6 and then sub in a Fate die for a 6. And guess what? I automatically killed your Rhino.
Yep.
Eldar are some of the best caddies for a single high damage shot ever.
Yes.
Because they reroll the hit and they reroll the wound, and guess what? It's flat 8 or 9 damage, and you don't get a save. It's just like
they just have the reliability.
Yes.
Make it all work.
So that dude, like, legitimately, consistently, I would do things like run up to a unit of regular 8 bound, throw a grenade, kill one, fire the Melta, kill a second one, charge in, use dev wounds to finish off the last one. Then if he gets charged back, he dies, stands back up,
does it again,
and then does it again to another unit.
Yeah.
And that is brutal. Or he holds objectives and he gives you 2 CP a turn.
Really good.
He's just
really good.
Insane. Like, and again, if you've never played with him and you're playing Eldar, well, first off, you have played with him. And if you're playing Eldar, you have played with him. I just don't want to hear this. But if you haven't, give him a shot. With Phoenix Gem, he is gross. The amount of plays you can do. His gun's also assault, so why not Fate die in a 6 or 1 CP in a 6? He goes 20 inches and then he shoots his gun at something. You know what play I thought about the other day?
What?
The play I thought was like, oh, I have him vaguely within 20 inches of a Warpsmith who was a marked for death and doing an action. What if I just Fate died a 6 and to make him move over the and then shot with Blade Storm, and then critical wounds are +2 AP. So if he armor contempted and was in cover and had a 2-up, I would just be like, Fate die 6 to wound, and it's D6 +3 damage, and you have 4 wounds. Just auto dome this dude with no saves, no nothing. He's a 2-up in cover, but I could just go whoop and just go bing, you're dead. And that's what this guy does on the regular.
He's just very good.
Yes.
And now we get into the characters that I think every single army would take if they had access to them.
Yes.
Maybe.
Well, this is kind of like the more combat-focused version of the Autarch Wayleaper.
Yes.
Azrael. Azrael is just really good.
Yes.
Why don't you? Do you want me to go?
Yeah,
over
go on your Azrael rant.
Okay, so Azrael he has a great army-wide roll, which is +1 CP, as you've heard. I think we have 3 of those.
3 of those,
far.
right? Yeah,
3 of those. It's a really
good rule.
Just gives your army +1 CP if he's in it, and then he also buffs his unit to the gills. So he gives his unit a 4-up invuln. Really solid.
Really solid.
Sustained hits on shooting and combat.
That's very good.
It's very good. And he also gives his unit a once per game fort, feel no pain against mortal wounds.
Those are all awesome units.
All awesome units. All awesome abilities.
Yeah.
He also hits really hard. I need to look up his offensive profile, but I know
he's 6 attacks at 7-4-2 with dev wounds or something like that.
Yeah, he's
like a very good power sword.
Very good power sword.
And a combi plasma.
Which is an anti-infantry 4+ damage 2 gun.
Yeah.
With sustained hits, because that's what he'd do. Mm-hmm. I just need to make sure I'm looking up his offensive profiles right, which is something that you said we might have to look up before the thing was Azrael's offensive profiles. Yep. But he is very good in combat.
So the big unit he's been joining a lot lately is Inner Circle Companions.
That's right.
Which are kind of like the Dark Angels custom blade guard. They're like dudes with 3 wounds on foot with a cool sword. And their big issue is they don't have an invuln save. But if you join this unit to them, they do get an invuln save. They like to be on foot, so Azrael gives your army 5 CP for some reason. And they just run around killing whatever you want.
Now, you can't put him in a transport. So if you put him in a transport, his rule does not trigger.
Yes.
So you won't get the CP. So don't do that. But he gives them sustained hits to go along with their lethal hits. So they're lethal and sustained, and they have an invuln, and they have a defense against mortals. And he is 6 attacks at 6/4/2 dev wounds with sustained hits. AP4 is really good.
Yeah.
And the Lion's Wrath is rapid fire 1. So at 12 inches, it's 3 shots at 8/3/2 anti-infantry 4+ dev wounds.
That's a really good gun.
It's a really good gun. It's a really good gun. And yeah, I mean, he's 105, which is very cheap.
Yep.
And I would just take him in literally any list, basically. Because sustained hits and an invuln to whatever unit he's joining is a crazy buff. And a 4 at Feeling Pain against mortals once. His offense is great, and he gives your army a CP. He's 105. You just do it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think he is the best Space Marine captain in the game right now.
Yeah, best Space Marine character. I mean, he's the 3rd best character. He's the only one from Space Marines.
Yeah.
No, Lemartes.
Lemartes.
But he is definitely better than Lemartes.
Yeah.
He buffs your army and his unit. Lemartes buffs his unit.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that makes the difference.
Yeah. Okay, so the last 2 characters, we actually went back and forth, and I think either one could have taken the number 1 spot, but the fact is I ran both of these this weekend.
And yep. Why don't you take us away, Quentin?
All right, so number 2, we have Morvenn Vahl.
All right, what does Morvenn Vahl do, Quentin?
Well, unlike everyone else on this list, she really doesn't buff your army that well.
No, but she buffs her unit real good. Real good.
So we talked about how she technically is a vehicle, but we thought that she felt more like a leader than she felt like a vehicle because she joins Paragon Warsuits. And she gives her unit reroll hits and wounds all the time.
Just
all the time.
All the time.
All the time, reroll hits and wounds. And the Paragons give their unit +1 to hit and wound against monsters and vehicles. Which means the Paragons and Vahl, notably, are +1 to hit and wound, reroll hits and wounds against monsters and vehicles. And I promise you, that will take those 3 multi-meltas and will make them kill a land raider every single time.
Yep. You have various ways to ignore cover. You have various ways to +1 AP. So you just go and they die.
Yep.
But what else does she do? Not only is she an insane buff piece for this unit. Like this unit hits with the force of like 1,000 suns, right? Like just hits you.
It's like a
from
whole
orbit.
1,000 suns army.
A whole 1,000 suns army just hitting you.
So Vahl herself is pretty good in shooting and combat. So in shooting, she has Fidelis, which is a 3-shot strength 6 heavy bolter.
3 shots? Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. It's not really 3 shots. And then she has the rocket launchers that has a cool sister's name that I forget what they are, but they're just it's a 2-shot crack missile. She has an ability where whenever she's selected to shoot or fight, which is Overwatch 2, notably, she can discard a miracle die. So any of the giant pile of 1s that you have, we did the math, you get like 40 dice. So some of those are going to be 1s. You get rid of it, and Fidelis gets +3 shots, or in combat, she gets +3 attacks. And then so your bolter is 6 shots at 6/1/2, +1 to hit and wound, sustained hits.
And reroll
hits and wounds. And a lot of times, you're shooting at something and you shot an immolator at it, and then you shoot like the Stormbolter off a Castigator at it because that Castigator is shooting at something else.
Because something to remember is that it's only like the little bolter off the immolator needs to shoot it, and then you get the buff from the immolator. So the immolator fires a top gun somewhere and fires the heavy bolter to set up Vahl.
So then her heavy bolter is 6 shots, hitting on 2s, rerolling, sustained hits, at, if you're within 12 inches, 7/2/2 ignore cover, +1 to wound, reroll wounds, and I promise you that will kill a rhino by itself most of the time.
Yeah, and as you said, on Overwatch, you can discard a 1 and go 6 shots on a sustained hit gun that rerolls to hit.
Yes.
And then you also have the missiles that reroll to hit. And I can assure you that unit does brutal damage in Overwatch.
Yeah.
Because rerolling hits and wounds is a hell of a drug. I have personally lost a game at a top table because this unit, before the buffs, ripped my unit to shreds on Overwatch.
Yeah,
it just like should have done that too.
Yeah. If you're running Firestorm, which I think is the best way to play this unit, it can move 17 inches in one turn with an advance, which is crazy. Oh, by the way, in combat, you can also do the Miracle Die thing. So she goes up to 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, re-rolling, +1 to hit and wound if it's monster vehicle. At 8/2/3, which if you do the Triumph, you can make 8/2/3 with the Dev Wounds, which you can sub in because you have Fate dice.
8/3/3.
8/3. She goes 8/3/3 if you do the Triumph. She's 8/2/3 base.
Yeah, so strength 8, AP2, damage 3.
Yeah.
That can go up to AP3 if you're near the Triumph. And you can make the move 17 inches. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. She's quite durable. She's toughness 7 with 8 wounds and a 2-up, 4-up with access to Miracle Dice and Armor of Contempt in a lot of detachments. If you're running the Index detachment, the Hollowed Martyrs, you can stand her back up, which is really, really good. By herself, she's not like incredible, and she's with the Paragons. She is like criminal. I had this unit in one battle round kill a Hive Tyrant, a Swarm Lord, Deathleaper, and 10 Gargoyles and an Exocrine.
And that is mostly due to Vahl. Because the Paragons by themselves are fine. They're fine.
Yeah.
But with Vahl, they become absolute monsters.
Yeah. Vahl does not do anything. She just punches your opponent so hard they die.
Yeah. So she doesn't like buff your army or whatever.
No.
She just hits your opponent so hard that they stop playing the game of 40k.
Yep. And shooting in combat, and she just keeps doing it because the unit is quite durable.
Yep. Her and her unit, hard to get rid of. They are toughness high with an invuln and fate dice and access to, well, certain buffs that we will cover in a second.
We want to go ahead and just cover those certain buffs. We have the best character in the entire game of Warhammer 40k, the Triumph of St. Catherine.
The Triumph of St. Catherine is gross.
Yes.
I don't understand her that well because I don't play Sisters. I don't play New Sisters. Why
Let
don't you tell me what goes on?
what is, I think, the most impractical model GW has ever designed.
It's infantry, but it's also this big.
It is on like a Riptide base.
That's right. She also gets you Miracle Dice. Vahl gets you Miracle Dice.
Oh, yeah. Whenever she kills a unit, she gets Miracle Dice if she's been like empowered, which means a lot of times whenever you spend a Miracle Die, you just get them back for free, which is great. Anyway, so Triumph of St. Catherine is 6 ladies and a coffin and some naked babies flying above them. And somehow it's the best character in the game. So just to start, she's 18 wounds with a 4-up invuln save, which means she like doesn't die somehow. Like she should die to a lot of things, but then like she just doesn't.
Yeah, you've been playing a lot of Sisters lately.
Yeah, a lot of Sisters. I've never had her like take a point of damage, but if my opponent goes into her, she's like shockingly durable. Because a lot of times what will happen is they'll line up like something to kill what is in their heads, a small squishy Sisters character, and they're like, she's 18 wounds, and I'm like, yeah, she's 18 wounds. And they're like, oh, well, I guess I'm just not going to shoot her then. In combat, she's 18 attacks hitting on 2s at 5/1 with access to lethal hits, which I promise you is a very real profile.
No, something about 18 attacks.
Yeah.
It's a whole unit's worth of attacks.
No, she's like a real combat threat. She's OC 6, which means that if she's on an objective, a lot of times it's just yours.
Because a 5-man squad doesn't take it back.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Now let's get into the parts of the unit that make her good. So that's just to start.
So the reason she doesn't take a point of damage is because when the fighting is happening, she is just completely unworth the amount of effort it takes to kill her.
Yeah.
Just thoroughly not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that she just lives, and then the following turn, your opponent makes the same calculus, and she doesn't take damage again.
Yeah.
Because they can, while you're in the process of, let's be clear, tabling them.
Yeah.
They can divert all their firepower to an 18 wound character with a 3-up save in cover with a 4-up invuln and fate dice.
Or they can shoot the Volgons.
Or they can shoot the Volgons or the 3 Castigators just spraying bullets at them.
Yeah. So the Triumph has 2 key abilities. So the first one is very good. It's whenever the battle round starts, you get a Miracle Die on that die as a 6. That's just very good.
Is it very good, Quentin?
Yeah, no, it's very solid.
It'd be weird if every Sisters unit, bar none, had a 6-up invuln. So this is just blank failed save.
Or that melted gun
save
is
every time.
Damage 8.
Or that melted gun is damage 8.
It's really nice in the early game before you get your like just pile of dice started, because you just have 1 6 in your back pocket like immediately, which is really genuinely very nice. So that is amazing. Then on top of that, she has instead of a pick 3, she has a pick 2 with access to 6 buffs. And they're all quite good.
So it's not pick 1 of 3 like most
no,
characters.
it's pick 2 of 6. And I promise you, I use them all very regularly.
What are the buffs, Quentin?
The buffs are +2 move, +1 advance, +1 charge. And that's one aura.
That's one buff?
What's one buff?
That's one buff.
And if you're playing Firestorm, then you can advance and shoot, which means it's basically +3 move to whatever you're picking.
Why aren't those two separate? Why isn't it +2 move and then a separate one for +1 advance, +1 charge?
I don't know.
Okay,
But
carry
it
on.
is.
Carry
So
on.
she's this insane speed buff to your army. Very regularly, my opponents will be like, okay, well, your tanks, they move like 10 or 12. And I'm like, no, they all move like 18. And then they shoot you.
Because they're assault and they get +2 to move and +1 to advance. And by the way, here's a miracle die for a 6, and they moved 21?
21,
Yeah, 21 inches.
Yeah.
And 3 of that is off the Triumph.
Yep. Then the next one is a 6-up Feel No Pain, which is just like a really solid aura. Like it's kind of the backup one that I pick a lot of times because like what happens is like someone's like, I'm going to allocate 12 wounds of damage to this castigator. And you're like, I survive on 1 or 2 or whatever. That one's quite solid. Real Battle Shocks is nice. It's really good into Tyranids because you can just be like, Shadows does not do anything this turn. Real ones to wound and shooting is quite good.
Yeah, because you're a shooting army.
Your shooting army. It's if you're taking the Castigator autocannons, it's not awesome, but a lot of times you're shooting like Space Marines with those heavy bolters, or if you're lining up a volley of 600 killer missiles, or she's in the center of the table and you shoot with all the strength 10 meltas and multi-meltas, it's very good there. There's +1 AP. It's really solid.
In
combat, yeah, sorry. Which means the Volgons go to AP3 and her swords go to AP3. And that's really good if you're getting around like Armor of Contempt on Terminators or something like that. And then the last one is able to use 2 miracle dice on a unit instead of 1. Which if you're like have a big pile of dice and you need to have like a really aggressive turn, you can do that. So none of the buffs are like absolutely criminal. They're not like, oh my God, that's crazy. They're all just like probably a little too good. And it's the fact that you can pick 2 of them and the fact that you have such flexibility between them. Because you can really easily mix and match to like find what you need. And then like apply that to the turn. So if you're punching your opponent really hard in the face that turn, you can go 2 miracle dice and real ones to wound, and that's really good. If you're just kind of like shuffling around, you can be like Feel No Pain and movement. If there's Tyrannid, you can be like Feel No Pain and real battle shocks. If you're gonna get hit really hard and you want to go full shields up, you can go 2 miracle dice Feel No Pain, and then your army's like shockingly durable.
Yeah, I also see some people in the chat being like, "Oh, she's toughness 3, so flamers and bolters kill her." Well,
she's 18 wounds.
She also has a 3-up save, so like if you're firing flamers at her, be prepared to hand her 54 wounds before she goes away.
Yeah,
and if you're willing to do that, then hats off to you, I suppose.
Yeah,
but that will get you murdered.
Yeah,
like that will absolutely get you destroyed if you try and go that way.
Yeah, sure. Shoot 50, hand me 54 wounds on my Triumph. It's not going to the rest of the army that's actually killing you.
It's also more if she has a 6-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
If she has a 6-up Feel No Pain, she functionally has like 21 and change wounds.
Yeah.
And then you have to hand her like almost 70 saves in order to kill her. You're just not doing that with flamers.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
like you could, but it would take like a whole army.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a massive damage sink. You can kill her.
Yeah.
That is the point, but it's like you're just not going to have the bandwidth to do it.
15 las cannons to kill her. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the actual number is, but it's like more than 10.
Well, because you can auto pass 2 saves.
Yeah, it's a Feel No Pain. You have a 4-up armor invuln save. She's 18 wounds. Like she doesn't die, and it's not worth shooting her. And if she is taking the damage, then it's not going to the real units.
And there is no one activation I am happy to put into the Triumph.
No.
Right? Like flamers or low AP, low strength stuff is good for chipping some wounds off her, right? I might do 6, but I'm not going to do 18.
No, I think the one thing that's like really good at killing her is stuff like Possessed, where it's like mass like 622.
Yeah, like I've killed her with a squad of like wardens.
Yeah.
But that squad of wardens would have really, really, really liked to go into something else. I promise you.
Also, she could just totally survive that.
She totally can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I didn't kill her at first, but that was when he just literally burned like 10 miracle dice all at once.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore, but still burning 2 and a squad of wardens having to be like, I'm going to go kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really care about that because they're honestly not going to make it there.
Yeah.
The Immolators and the Dominions and the Paragons
and the Castigators
will all shoot you to death before you get there.
So basically what the Triumph is Sisters broadly are too good. And the Triumph is just a like 10% efficiency increase to exactly what you're doing that turn all the time. She's just really good. Also, notably, this comes up quite a bit. Her base is quite large, which means that 6-inch auras offer like giant honkin' dinner plate base is good. Yeah. It's like just pretty good.
Yeah, it's not a 6-inch aura, like it's a 9-inch aura off a regular size character or a 6-inch aura off of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've been playing a lot of sisters lately. You took them to ATC, you took them to a GT near here.
Yep.
So you've been playing a lot. You have a lot of experience and you've only been refining your game plan. Like,
yeah.
It's been pretty nasty, and the Triumph has been a very large part of why that has been working.
Yeah, the more I play with sisters, the more I realize just how good the Triumph is.
Yeah.
Because when I first started playing with her, I just sat in like Feel No Pain and Extra Move every time. And then now I've been like really flexing between her. I'm like, oh, she's like an offensive or movement or defensive increase. She's whatever you need, she does.
And then at the end of the day, once you've pushed your opponent and they have to respond to Castigators and the Volgons and Dominions and Immolators, and then you just slap the 6 OC billion attack Triumph on the center objective, and there is no way in hell they're going to divert a army's worth of shooting to pick her up. They can do it. They're not going to, because then they will not have an army on the following turn.
Yeah.
And actually, spoiler alert, they don't have an army on the following turn anyway.
Yeah. All right, we want to go ahead and talk about some super chats.
Absolutely.
All right, so our first one is from James McKenna with a €6 super chat. Hello from Ireland. I just finished my Necron army. How would you play the Silent King, and what units do you think work well with him? Keep up the great content. So the Silent King, I think, is just a really awesome centerpiece model. I think things that really work well with him are like Doomstalkers that really like reroll ones to hit and wound. Any good shooting unit.
Any good shooting unit really likes
Tesseract Vaults.
Tesseract Vaults if you want.
Yeah.
It's very nice for a lot of offensive pieces. Whatever shooting unit it tickles your fancy, whether that is.
It can be the planes,
like
Doomsday Arcs. Any good shooting unit is awesome with the Silent King.
Yeah, because you get reroll ones to hit and wound all the time, and then if your opponent is relying on modifiers to survive you, you can just ignore that.
Yeah.
And that's really good. Also, his stat line is very good. Just incredibly durable and hard to remove, and has good shooting and good combat. Mm-hmm. So honestly, if you include him in whatever army you're looking to do, you're probably going to be pretty happy with it. But shooting pieces like Heavy Destroyers really like his buff. Doomsday Arcs really like his buff. But if you want to see how to use the Silent King, what you want to do is you want to check out Richard's games in the War Room, because he loves that dude a lot.
Yep.
And I hate that dude a lot because that guy is obnoxious. And if you want to learn how to play him better, just go and check those games out in the War Room, and I think you'll learn quite a bit.
Right. Alejandro Martin, welcome to the War Room Silver. Thank you very much for joining.
Philip Papayanis, $5 super chat, says, "Hey Jack, looking to run infantry heavy Custodes at an upcoming team tournament. What are their matchups I should aim for and avoid?" So if you're running infantry heavy Custodes, that's probably going to look like a lot of Wardens and a lot of Venatari. You're looking to do a lot of damage to people who are trying to rely on their durability to survive conventional amounts of damage. Because the thing that Custodes do, right? What you want to do when you look at your army in a team event is you want to say, what does my army do that is out of the usual? If you're just running an army that's like a normal army that doesn't do anything spectacularly well, why are you taking this army in a team event, right? So the question is, what does your army do really well? And the thing for Custodes is, because to be honest, they've lost a lot of rules. What they do very well right now is lots of damage.
Yes.
So you need to find someone who hates having lots of damage applied directly to their face, and you go hunt that person down. So somebody who's relying on like triple accursed cultist bricks, just delete those. You just drop in and you just charge them, and then they're gone, and they can't deal with that anymore. Or somebody who's like running knights up the table, delete them. People who are running like big durable units that you can handle, run them up the table. Nope, sorry, you got intercepted and killed.
Yeah.
That's what your goal is to do in team events.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to take for any team event is, what does your army do really well? Find an opponent who doesn't want to have that thing happen to them. And that's your matchup.
Yep. Also on Custodes, they're really good into like squirrely matchups. So if you're playing someone who's trying to be like MSU in the corners and score points, you can just be like fist, face.
Also, OC3 in a billion places on objectives is really strong. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't want to take like a variety of heavy shooting on, especially their table choice. That's not great. But anyone who's trying to just survive conventional amounts of damage, hand them unconventional amounts of damage and move on with your life.
Yep.
All right.
Any final closing thoughts?
No, I just, I tune in next week where we will be going over the top 10, I believe, monsters in the game.
Rawr.
There's going to be a lot of characters on that list.
Yeah,
I
there
expect.
are.
But there are going to be characters who felt more like monsters.
Yes.
So we'll be having this chat again next week.
All right. I'll see you guys around and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.